Good evening. Thank you for joining us. My name is Jemima Beatrice, your host this evening. Let's have a look at today's headlines. Welcome back. Now, over the last weekend, the Shut It All Down Namibia protest took place against femicide in Namibia. Several protesters were arrested, including journalists. Today we have in studio author and journalist Wonder Guchu, who will talk to us about the fine line between journalism and activism. Thank you for joining us, Wonder.
Thank you for inviting me.
Now, Wonder, in your view, what is the fine? What can you say about journalism versus activism?
I should start by saying that journalism by nature is activism. You might be asking why. Because if you are a journalist, you are advocating for truth, for accountability, for transparency. So this is another form of activism. And most people wouldn't admit it. So I just need to expand on this a little bit.
Yes.
Before I talk about the media advocacy. Here is the thing. If you cover corruption, the words that you are going to use in your story, they are yours. The introduction, when you describe the people who are being accused, you sit down as a journalist, then you have to go through your vocabulary to say, which word is the most suitable one that I can use to capture the emotions. So I have seen words such as notorious. That comes from who? Who comes to say?
Journalists say notorious, yes.
So what exactly is that? It's activism.
Now, Wanda, let's go to an actual protest out in the street.
Yeah.
Would it be acceptable for a journalist to cover the protest and carry a placard protesting at the same time?
I'm not sure whether I saw anyone. Maybe they were there. But again, we must be so clear as to were they there as journalists or they were there in their own private capacity.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when we
if, in any case there's anyone who was playing the double role, you have a placard and you are waving your media card, then that's unacceptable.
That's unacceptable. Now, Wanda, a journalist, if say for hypothetically, I feel very strong about say corruption, and I see myself as an anti-corruption activist. Is it acceptable for me as a journalist to take time off from work to go and partake in a protest? But at the same time, is it okay for me to return from such protest and cover it the next day as a journalist?
You can't, right? The actual thing is, if you feel strongly about anything, and then you are thrust in that position where you are supposed to do a story, your emotions are still there. So to be fair to yourself and the readers, you don't have to, right? And this is exactly where you need to stand back. And people will respect you for your standpoint to say, I have emotions, strong one. about this. So I cannot, right, do this tutorial, because we may not know where your emotions end and where your work should begin. But if you are quiet, you feel strongly about whatever you feel, but then you are also able to control your emotions when you do this tutorial, which in most cases is not possible, because when you pour down your heart, your emotions also will come through it. So the best thing is you don't have to be part of it when it comes to the writing part, because like I say that we are activists by nature. We need to be accountable. We need to be transparent, and we need to speak the truth. But if you are involved emotionally, that will then have to crowd your judgment.
Now, Wanda, in the corporate world, they talk of conflict of interest. How does conflict of interest work in the media?
Let me go back to the example that you have just given, where one takes a placard, shut it all down, right? And at the same time, you have your media card. And at the same time, you also be asked to do the story. You are interested emotionally in the event, which is okay. No one can stop anyone from being interested in what they want to be interested in. But you must then draw a line to say, I end here. And if someone comes to you to say, can you do this story? You have got the freedom to say, I am conflicted because this is how I feel. So the conflict of interest comes because you want to be everything, right? You want to be a protester, you want to be a journalist, and then you come back to the newsroom. You are trying to inform. This is where bias comes in.
And how dangerous is bias?
Bias is not only dangerous, it's toxic. Because look, by the power of the pen, you might misinform people. Because the story that you are going to tell, it is not the story about the event, but quite often it will be the story about how you feel. So you need to stand back. Feel strongly, yes, but when you want to inform the people, you must inform them on the basis of what exactly went on there. So if you participated there and you come back, you want to put the story together. Whose story are you telling?
Now, Wanda, as we are going into the election season, there's this debate about political journalists, whether they should be allowed to be card-carrying members of political parties or not. What are your views on this?
You see, there's no way that you can stop anyone to be part of a political party. You can't be apolitical.
So how do you address this issue so it don't turn into a toxic situation?
But if you are a political journalist, you need to do what you have to do. So it comes back to the news editor or the editor to just keep an eye on the kind of story that comes through. Because bias is there, right? And if you go and cover your party, right, you will come and write a very good story about your party. And if you go to cover the party that is contesting against your party, you will also come and rubbish them. So the monitoring part and the tricky part of it is you need to trust a person to say you will trust them that they will act according to the ethics.
Now, Wanda, we see a new wave of journalists standing together to speak out against ill treatment, abuse by state officials. Do you think the way journalism is being done in Namibia is about to be changed?
I have my doubts. I'm sorry to say this because they shut it all down. That doesn't matter that there were some journalists who are being said to have been part of it. Now, if there is any union that is coming up now, you put a united front, because I am yet to see any signed document, just like what was done with the State House issue. 56 journalists came together, signed a petition, right? So if there's a strong feeling, because this is what I'm getting, if there's a strong feeling that some members of this forthcoming union were unethical, you don't throw them out. You put out a united stand, then you sit them down. Guys, this is how you were supposed to have done it, and this is not how you were supposed to have done it. But to go silent, like the silence that we see now. And when it came to State House, everybody else stood up. I'm not quite sure that there's going to be any change. Because you can't throw out your child simply because they've done what you perceive to be wrong. You defend them out there. You bring them in, sit them down, and then say, next time, please don't.
Now, speaking about the 56 journalists who wrote to State House and petitioned State House because of the disagreements they've had with the press secretary, do you think them doing that, there is a new wave of journalism in Namibia?
I see activism.
And what does that mean?
Look, for me, we need to look at what must come first. State House is State House, right? Now, for me, the concern is the working conditions, right? So any union, if there is to be any union, the concern is to look at how media houses treat journalists. State House is fine, but if we already dealt with what is afflicting us, because the most undemocratic spaces now is the media houses.
What do you mean when you say that?
Look, working conditions are poor, salaries are poor, people are threatened with their jobs, they are not appreciated, they are not respected. Most of them, they are overworked, right? So these are the issues that must, like they all say, charity begins at home. So we are starting from out there, but where we are coming from is dirty.
Do you think editors are doing enough to make sure that journalists are properly taken care of when you speak about these challenges?
My experience so far, some yes, but some no.
What do you think should be done for editors to do more?
Look, the issue here is not about something being done. The issue is about being a good leader. That is where it all begins. Some are just people who got jobs, right? Leadership takes time to learn. You go through processes, right? And the leadership you can't be given, right? And you must have an understanding of your people. Because everybody today is carrying issues. So as a leader, you carry your team's issues. Everybody else has got this disease and that disease, and where they are coming from, rent is not enough, they can't get enough food. You have to understand them. But if you don't understand them, you treat them as workers, then the problem comes. So it's not about what must be done. It's about an individual person, right? Them being a human being, someone who can understand people. You may not be able to give them money. You may not be able to give them a bigger house to stay, but at least they must have comfort to know that I've got this issue. I am going to him or her and sit with him down. He will listen, and sometimes what it takes is listening. People won't ask you for money, but they want your attention. But I'm not sure whether, if you go around all the newsrooms today, they get that. Almost the guys get. It's like, you didn't do well. You were supposed to have done this. This is that and that and that. There's no appreciation, because we all learn. And if I also do mistakes. I've been in the media for close to 25 years now. I do mistakes. I learn from my team, right? So no one knows it all. So you open up, listen, right? When they are coming to you to say, no, this I think should have been like that, listen. Nothing should be done here, but the individual must change. And change means you understand the nature of your job. Because being a journalist is like you are in the army, right? A lot of stress, and when you do this story of the 2-week-old baby who was raped, it got to you. Was anything done in terms of you being taken for, trauma and all these other things?
Speaking about that, media houses say they provide their staff with medical aid. Do you think that is enough?
But this is medical aid to go where?
To doctor.
And then which doctor? There are people with this special skill, because the trauma that you are going through is not the same trauma that a nurse goes through. Yeah? So each one must have a specialist to deal with a certain type of trauma. But if you are thrown out, you get stressed out, and you come to talk to me, I don't really listen. I think this is where the whole issue is. Let us clean what is happening in our newsrooms first. State House, fine, we can actually deal with them, but it's the individual editor, the individual editors who are causing more stress, not State House. How many events do people cover?
Very few people.
State House. So I've met quite a number of young journalists who are saying they can't, because of what they go through each and every day. So if there's going to be any union that doesn't put a united front
out there,
the world must actually see, the country must actually see that these guys are one. You have issues with him, but when something happens out there, you defend your own. Bring them in, sit them down and say, guys, you were not supposed to do this and that and that. And remember that we have got young people in the media now. Some of them, they get excited. They don't go through training. This is how you can cover a demonstration. They don't. So why do you throw them out before you can bring them in?
Thank you very much for joining us, Wanda. It was a delight to listen to you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you for tuning in.